IntellivisionDude here, and this is a new series I'm starting called I Talk About Records. IntellivisionDude talks about records. Uh, I guess I might also talk about CDs. Once in a while I might talk about cassettes, but I'd rather have records be the main focus. My idea started off with is I was going to show off what I considered my favorite finds from the record store that were temptation buys, where it's like I knew nothing about the artists, or I might know a song about the artist, and I bought them anyway, then found out how awesome they were. But if I just stick with just those, then I'd be out of stuff to talk about in no time. So this is going to be a mixture. I'm no musical expert. I'm not the best at articulating. I might not say things properly. Might be me rambling on a lot. I don't even own as many records as CDs and things as other people, but I don't think all that matters. Let's just talk about music. So I want to start off with what I think is my favorite find and favorite purchase out of anything I purchased yet, and it is Trick or Treat by FastWay. It is the original music score by FastWay for the movie Trick or Treat. What are you afraid of? It's only rock and roll. This is so awesome, you just cannot believe. And I didn't even see this movie back in the day. I just saw it just recently because I wanted to know what it was about after I heard this awesome album. To describe FastWay, I guess would be like a hair metal band, but they are very, very good, especially this album. I put this up there with any of the great hair metal albums of all time, like anything from Ozzy to what else would you call hair metal? Motley Crue, any of those guys. There are so many great songs off this album. I think my favorites probably be Stand Up, Hold On to the Night, Heft, and If You Could See. Any of those songs right there hold up to any of the best hair metal songs of all time. It is really, really good. So, in turn, I bought their second album. I don't like it as much as Trick or Treat, but everybody was saying it was a better album. I need to check out this. This is a better album. But I disagree. This is the better album. I do need to listen to this again and give it a second chance. Maybe I was being judgmental when I listened to it. This is not the easiest record to find. I'm trying to remember if it's on CD or not. I can't remember. I know it's on cassette because my friend Hunter picked it up. I don't know if it's on CD or not, but I know it's on record. And it's not the easiest to find. The record store that I found this at screwed up because they had it in their dollar budget records, and you probably won't find it for less than 20 to 30. Oh, I was gonna say I'm gonna try to limit this to 5 main records per video. But I may also mention like another record from that artist, but that won't count, but still is the one. And talking about hair metal, I got Diary of a Madman from Ozzy Osbourne. That's the funny thing with Ozzy, was that he was never that hard of metal, you know. I'd almost consider him more like hard rock or hair metal than really hardcore heavy metal. I know heavy metal can be interpreted in many ways, because heck, you know, Led Zeppelin you could say was the heavy metal of their day, Black Sabbath. But ever since like let's say Metallica, Iron Maiden, Anthrax, Megadeth, when those kind of bands came out, then that was real heavy metal. Then Ozzy sounded kind of definitely not as hardcore as those guys, but he's considered a metal god, which I guess he should be. He's got the metal look, the metal attitude. His music has never been quite as metal as his image, but it's great stuff. technically, I like Blizzard of Oz better. It's the better album. I'd only have Blizzard of Oz on CD though. I think the highlight on this is the first song, Over the Mountain. I know Flying High Again was the hit, but I think Over the Mountain's the better song. My memory of this album is a cousin of mine had this when I was a kid, and I thought it was the coolest looking cover of all time. And I still rank this up there as the coolest looking covers. It ranks up there with his other covers like Bark at the Moon and Speak of the Devil. And I guess we're going to get into some funk stuff. This was $1 Temptation by. This was mass production. I was hoping this is what it was. It was going to be funky stuff, soul music, funky stuff, and exactly what it was. I took a chance on this one. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that as soon as I popped it on, it's like I recognized the song right off the bat. The song Firecracker. Two Live Crew stole that for their song Me So Horny. They completely ripped off the whole instrumental of that. I mean, I'd have to listen to both songs side by side, but it almost sounds like all Two Live Crew did was took the instrumental of that and rapped over it. I don't know if there's much if they made many changes to it at all, if at all. They may have added some beat to it. They may have changed it up a little bit, but not much. Firecracker is pretty much straightforward, Me So Horny, but with singing over top of it. This is a good group. They got some male singers. They got even a female singer who does a really good job. The other highlight would be the song Strollin'. I like that one an awful lot. That's an instrumental. That's really, really funky. And let me get a drink real quick. Drink of water. Mouth is getting dry already. Then we're under the Temptations here. My friend Hunter gave me this one here. It was the Puzzle People. It's like, all right, the Temptations. Okay, Motown. I guess I'll give it a chance. And that's actually what really wasn't. This wasn't the old school Temptations. You know, you're thinking My Girl and songs like that. That's not what this is. This is like a funky Temptations. Yeah, a funky Temptations is what this is. My favorite song off this one might be my favorite Temptation song of all time is Message from a Black Man. That's a song that, once again, Two Live Crew sampled. And it's their Mega Mix #3 from As Nasty as They Wanna Be. Same album, Me So Horny's on. They sampled Message from a Black Man. If you've never heard that song, listen to it. It's underrated. Can't believe it was not a hit. It's crazy. It's downright crazy. But my Temptation by, it's funny that I say Temptation by. That pun actually wasn't intended. That was an accident. But that is so funny. My Temptation by the Temptations was Do the Temptations. It's like, well, if that one's good, maybe some of the other ones are good. I could be throwing my money away. But this, so far, is my favorite one I've heard so far. All the way from beginning to end, this is one hell of an album. I don't know what my favorite song is. I really don't know. It might be We Can't Get Together. It's called Why Can't You and Me Get Together. I think the hit song was Who Are You, but it didn't really do well. Let Me Count the Ways is really good as well. This is really, it's funky. It's got a funky sound. It's got a disco sound. It's great. A few songs kind of feel like it's a throwback to the old Motown Temptations, but most of it is funky. It's got soul. It's got disco kind of sound. Now, if I am not mistaken, when I heard the song Is There Anybody Else, I thought I recognized that from something else. Like at least one or two other songs have sampled from that. It sounds so familiar. So if maybe you can find it in a Google search or something. But check out the song "Is There Anybody Else?" It sounds so familiar. I just can't put a finger on it. But I might have to look more into it. I tried to look it up on one of those sample sites, but I didn't find it. I'll have to look again. But I recommend this album a lot. When looking for other reviews of this album, I found this website of these two guys that review records. And they hated this. They reviewed every single Temptations record. And they downright hated this. They gave it 1.5 out of 5 stars and called it garbage. I was like, are these guys crazy? Are these guys serious? Like, come on. These guys have no taste. These guys also gave Miles Davis' Bitches Brew 2.5 out of 5 stars. Oh, come on. Calling it all over the place. No focus of the album. It's like, it's experimental jazz. Come on. I'll probably be doing that record in a future video. So I don't trust those guys' reviews at all. This one, I don't remember too well. I've listened to it once and I've already forgotten it. I gotta listen to it again. It's called A Song for You, I believe it's called. And this one wasn't so great either. This is more into the 80s, 1980. The song, the title track, Power, is awesome. Really, really awesome song. It's a very powerful song. Pun intended. But the rest of the album, I didn't like. It was more of a kind of 80s love songs. It just didn't have that feel of the funky soul stuff and the disco. It kind of went away from that here. But the song Power is amazing. And lastly, you're gonna think big band jazz. What's the big deal with that? There's just something to this album. It's amazing. Oh, let me get a drink here again. I like big band and I like jazz. This is a mixture of the two. And you're thinking, oh, geez, another big band or jazz compilation. This is more than that. This is really, really good. Even my friend Hunter, who just moved out, by the way. Too bad he's not here talking about these with me. It's a shame. But anyway, this was really, really good. Unbelievably good. And I've heard quite a few big band compilations, and I've heard quite a few jazz compilations. Out of those, this is my favorite. I was going to read you the back of this, because I find this very, very, very interesting. It says, Umbrella brings you a brilliant new audio experience and a special limited edition series of artists and music recorded from the studio directly onto the master disc. These are live performances in every exciting meaning of the word. The artist must perform each side of the album completely as they would play it in live concert. No fixing or changing is possible, and the purity of the audio resulting from the difficult and exacting recording process of what makes the time and trouble all worthwhile. One more fact. Because tape is not used, only a limited number of recordings can ever be made of this performance. As a result, we have numbered each album. I'll have to look for that. When the last number is gone, there can never be another commercial recording. The way all other records are made is done. First on a multi-tape, then mixed down to a 2-track stereo tape master. This tape master is then used to cut the master lacquer on a disc cutting lathe. The direct-to-disc process eliminates all tape stages, and the result can be the most faithful reproduction of sound with all the live excitement of instruments and voice. The reasons more records are not made this way are largely the necessity of having a disc cutting room located within the recording complex, plus the extraordinary demands placed on the disc cutting engineer, artists, and studio recording engineer. Not using tape in the recording process prevents the use of a computer built into the cutting lathe and forces the disc cutting engineer to make many delicate adjustments to the lathe during the recording. To say the least, it requires great skill, experience, and patience. George Graves, chief disc cutting engineer for JAMF Toronto, is one of the few who have been successful at this difficult task. Artists have a similar difficult time in it, in as much as their performance must continue for the full side without a stop of more than 4 or 5 seconds between tunes. The recording engineer must record live off the floor with no second chance to balance instruments or vocalists, as would be the case with tape recording. Beyond the human engineering problems lie other demanding electronic circuit design requirements. Before this direct-to-disc process can work successfully, equipment at Soundstage Recording Studio and JAMF have been highly modified in order that the direct-to-disc record lives up to the potential to deliver full, rewarding sound. This album is pressed on a special low-noise, low-wearing vinyl that would give long and faithful reproduction. We recommend that you do not apply any protective substance to the surface of this record. This direct-to-disc recording has such a wide frequency response and such high energy that we recommend you make sure your tone controls are centered, the loudness control off, and that no equalization is used, at least in your first listening. Another unusual feature of this album is that the master lacquer was cut using one of the new and as yet rare diamond cutting styli, just now being manufactured in Japan. The master lacquer blanks used exclusively by Umbrella for direct-to-disc recording and manufactured in France by Pyrel. The result of this combination of diamond cutting stylus and Pyrel lacquer blank is an appreciable increase in the quietness of the groove as well as a better all-around balance of frequencies within the grooves. That was a lot of reading, but I thought it was really, really cool. And I must say, this record does sound very nice. It's very vibrant sounding. There's a lot more of talking about it in here too. I'm not going to read all this, but they go into more detail about what I just read. A lot more detail. But if you like big band and jazz at all, I really recommend this. Don't just think, oh, just another big band jazz compilation. No, this is good. Really, really good. Even my friend Hunter, who was here, said this was one of the favorites he had heard too when he was here. So I guess that's video 1. Oh, only talking about 5 records, and that went on quite a while. Sorry about that. Maybe I'll try to cut them more short later. So I don't know how often I'm going to be doing these. I don't know if it's going to be once a week. I don't want to rush them too much, or I'll run out of things to talk about. So until then,